I'm so glad to be here. The steak and the scissors.
Steak and scissors? Oh, you mean the wizard CZ and never wrong Nick Bull.
You have never hunted something like this. Don't hunt what you can't kill, fella.
So it's that kind of wrestling podcast.
I want to be the guy throwing snakes at people.
Then you've found the right place. The podcast by the fan, for the fan. The card subject to change.
The surefire first ballot Hall of Famer, Mantar.
Here now, your hosts of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the Wizard CZ and never wrong Nick Bull.
Hello, one and all. A happy midweek to you here as we come to you live on the Card Subject to Change podcast. I am your host, Never Wrong Nick Bull. So happy to have you along with us. The podcast by the fan, for the fan. The Wednesday workday went by a little faster. Didn't have a show this past Sunday because this is our usually scheduled show. But you move things for a big-time guest. Had a little spring in my step today at work. Work went a little faster today, CZ, knowing that we were going to be interviewing, not only an author, but also a former WWE Tag Team Champion. You don't talk to those guys every day. So looking forward to this one. But yes, my co-host, the Wizard CZ, is here and in living color, and he's going to fill in the blanks for you here before we bring in our guest.
Absolutely. We are powered by Lopez Pizza, broadcasting to you from the Atomic Sports Cards and Collectibles digital studio. And like you said, Nick, I'm excited. I'm ecstatic. We got to talk to this gentleman last year at the Sandra Lee Memorial Car Show. Give a shout out to Ricky Lee for making that possible. And he told us about a book he was writing, and we said, hey, when it's out, come back on. We'll talk all about it. His name is Chaz Warrington, but you know him better as one half of the Headbangers, Mosh. How are you today, Chaz?
I am simply tremendous. How you guys doing?
Feeling great, man.
Doing great. We'll talk more about your elbow in a little bit, and you've been on the show, so we've asked you all about your love of wrestling. I want to ask you what inspired you to just one day decide, hey, I'm going to write a book, or was this something you thought about for years and just finally decided to do it?
Well, the funniest part about it is, the colored career that I've had. There's so many people that have said to me, "Oh, you should write a book. Oh, you should write a book." And my answer always was, well, I'm not sure because I don't think statute of limitations has run out on most of the things that we did on the road. And I don't want to get in trouble still. So, I always kind of said, yeah. What actually happened is Pete Gass of the Mean Street Posse wrote a book. And when his book came out, I went and bought it because Pete's a friend of mine. We're still friends. We actually go and we watch Michael wrestling together all the time because he's down here in South Florida now also. But I read Pete's book, and the sole reason I'm laughing because this is funny. The sole reason I read his book was to see how many times my name was mentioned. That's why I read it. But while I was reading his book, the perspective he was telling his story from, and I thought to myself, I was like, wow, like this is an amazing way. Like when I first thought, write a book, the initial thought was, you got to tell the road stories, that are kind of, shady, to cross the line, I could get you in trouble or get you judged by the public and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, that's not stuff I want out there. But then the way Pete wrote his book from his perspective of what was going on, I was like, holy cow, I can definitely write a book. And my son was getting a little bit older, and my son, so I left WWE in 2002. My son was born in 2004. So he never saw any of it. He saw me do a bunch of indie shows, but anything to do with WWE, he knew nothing about. So my other thought was, well, I'd like to write this for him. Even if it doesn't get published or even if I don't finish it, I want to write it for him. So it started a good 7 or 8 years ago, off and on, and it was more off than on. And then finally it was October of 24. I went back up to New Jersey for a high school band reunion. And there was a girl there, and I started talking to her, and it turns out that she is a ghost editor, a ghost writer, and an editor. And so I started telling her about my book, and she said to me, she goes, well, send me over what you have. I'd love to read it and, just just see. And I was like, all right, at this point, I was probably about 75% done. And I sent it to her. A week later, she calls me and she goes, oh my God, she goes, Chaz, this is great. She goes, this is the way you tell the story. She goes, from your perspective is amazing because no one would know what's going on or no one would see it from that side of it. She goes, I would love to work on this with you and help you get this finished. So I was like, jackpot. So that motivated me to keep writing and keep going. But I think the great part about the book is it's not just stories. It's basically from the first day I walked into the Monster Factory in June of 1993 until my contract ended in January of 2002. And it's bookended by our return in 2016 when we went back. So the book starts with that story, then I stop it. Then I tell my entire story, then I end the book with the finish of the 2016 story. But it's fans, and we did a convention this past weekend in New England, a New England Fan Fest. And someone came up to me and they're like, I love the book. And what I loved about it was I saw your story on TV. What I loved about it is that your book told me what was going on in your head behind the scenes before you went out on TV. And that's the whole point of the book. It's very vulnerable. I get emotional in the book. I talk about my successes. I talk about my failures. It's all in there. Basically, what I was thinking, what I was going through. Glenn and I Glenn and I have been together. It'll be 33 years in June. He trained me. So literally we've been together 33 years, which is more than half my life. And
that's longer than a lot of marriages.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. Well, Glenn's been married twice. So yes, I'm glad that lasted both of his marriages. But the cool part about it, I think, is what nobody knew about what happened in Memphis when we went to Memphis for USWA. No one knew what happened, when we were living in Arkansas for a little over a year. No one knew. And Glenn and I were together every single day, almost 24 hours a day. So there was bickering. There was, fighting back and forth between the two of us. And all of that's in the book. So it's all things that were basically going through my mind, what I was thinking, how I was feeling, what I was going through, how I got through what I had to get through to get to where we were, especially, times in Arkansas, we would wrestle 5 or 6 nights a week. And I was lucky at the end of the week if I had $3 left over in my pocket. So there was a lot of struggles. There was a lot of battles. It was a grind, but that's what the book is all about. So
and I know
that's kind of yeah, I was just gonna say that's what started it was actually Pete's book. That's what kind of gave me the idea and said, I can do this. And it kind of went out, started as a thing for my son, but now it's kind of like a dedication to the fans. I just want to let them to know kind of what was going on in my brain. That's all.
Absolutely. And I know I've loved every minute I've read of the book. Let me ask you this. Would you say is the biggest memory that sparked in your mind when you were writing it?
The biggest memory. Oh, wow. That's really tough to say. And here's why. The more I started writing, the more it kept coming back to me. Probably some of the experiences we had in Arkansas. Some of the bickering Glenn and I had in Arkansas, and then even when we got to Smoky Mountain, those were probably the biggest. Probably one of the biggest things I got out of it also was it was very therapeutic as well, because there was a lot of things in my head that I knew that I went through then, but to get it out on paper was therapeutic and almost get it out. And then when I got it out, I was like, wow, like I didn't realize how much of an impact that was on me until now I wrote it and I'm reading it back. If that answers your question.
You said something that just stuck out to me because selfishly, I got you on the show. I want to ask. I've been on a Smoky Mountain wrestling kick. It's what I watch like at nights before I go to bed. Like I'll put a show on or whatever. You mentioned the time there. What can you recollect from that time in working with Smoky Mountain and working with Jim Cornette?
That was probably up to that point the most we had learned. We went to Memphis. The atmosphere in USWA wasn't the best for us. We were from the Northeast. Basically, everyone who, and I'll throw names out, Brian, Christopher, people like that lived there knew, like, okay, these guys from the Northeast come down. They're going to be here 6-7 months, maybe a year, and then they're going to be gone. We live here. So there was no help. There was no guidance. Nobody after a match pulled you aside and said, hey, try this, or, hey, why don't you try that? Why did you do this? There was a lot of learning. There was so much talent there, and, older talent, veterans that could have taught us. But basically what they taught us was kind of not what not to do or what not to expect. When we went to Smoky Mountain, it was the total opposite. We're there with, Ricky and Robert, the Rock and Roll Express. We have Cornette there. And then the Heavenly Bodies came in, Tracy Smothers, Dirty White Boy, Tony Anthony, Al Snow's there, and Brad Armstrong. These guys, after a match, especially, we worked a little bit. I don't want to say it was a program, but we worked quite frequently with Tracy and Tony, and then Rock and Roll Express. They always pulled us apart. And they were like, hey, maybe you should try this. Maybe you should try that. Or suggest this, or suggest different things for us to try and do. So the learning there was unbelievable. Plus, the biggest part of it was that's where the Headbangers was born. Cornette brought us in and gave us the idea of this gimmick of these characters. And then Glenn and I just, evolved it into what it ended up being. And we took it and ran with it. So it was just the learning experience at Smoky Mountain was the best out of everything. I mean, obviously, when we got to WWF back then, WWE, when we got there, it's a totally different learning tree, because you're learning from, when we first got there, Bret Hart would pull us aside, and help us out. But that was the best part about Smoky Mountain, was obviously creating the characters, the Headbangers, but then just learning from everybody there.
Talk about a little bit, expand on the creation of the Headbangers a little bit. I know before that you were the Spiders or the Arachnoids, depending on where you were. Yep. What was your first thought when Jim Cornette brought the Headbangers to your mind?
My first thought was opportunity. We were wrestling for Burt Prentice at Ozark Mountain Wrestling in Arkansas. And, we were lucky to make, like I said, at the end of the week, have $3-4. But we were wrestling 4, 5, 6 nights a week. We just weren't making any money. So the biggest thing was, first of all, the opportunity of Jim Cornette guaranteeing us between $75 and $100 a night. We're like, woohoo! It's a gold mine. 3 nights a week. No, we're gonna have at least 200 hours in our pocket. This is amazing. So he wanted to bring us in, and he called us up and he said, listen, he knew Glenn from the Northeast from years before. He goes, I've seen your guys' tapes. He goes, Tracy and Ricky keep coming in, and Robert saying how great you guys are. The Gangsters are going to be finishing up. I'd like to bring you guys in, but there's only one caveat. And we're like, what's that? He goes, I don't like masked wrestlers. I don't like the masks. And we're like, well, okay. Like, that's kind of our thing. Like, we wear masks. And he's like, I know. He goes, I have this idea. He goes, and I think you guys could pull it off. And we're like, okay. He said he was at, and this is kind of funny, he says, I was at a Glenn Danzig concert in New York. Now, Cornette in New York is one thing, but at a Glenn Danzig concert, it's a totally different thing.
I can't see it.
Right. He said these guys, he goes, it was like heavy metal music. He said they were stage diving. He goes, there was mosh pits. They were beating the shit out of each other. He goes, they're spitting on one another and hitting each other. He said, some of them wearing dresses, they're wearing makeup, and there's just crazy stuff. He goes, I think with your the way you guys talk, being from the Northeast, I think you could pull it off. And I said, Jimmy, I know exactly what you're talking about. And he goes, you do? I said, I've been there. I said, I used to go to the bank over in Philly with friends of mine. I said, I've been to the concerts. I've dove off the stage. I've been in the mosh pits. I know exactly what you're talking about. And he said to me, he goes, I think you guys could do this. He goes, it's just an idea. He goes, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. He goes, I don't know, but I want to bring you guys in, but I don't want you wearing the masks. And I was all in, and Glenn was unsure, because he was like, I put so much time into the Spider, and now you and I have put so much time into this. And I'm like, yeah, but we had a serious conversation. But I'm like, Spiders aren't going anywhere. Like, it's been 2.5 years now. of, being in Memphis and Arkansas. And, we had been up to WWE TV doing jobs as the Spiders, as Chaz and Glenn. Like, it's not getting us anywhere. So what's the worst case scenario? If this doesn't work and we can always go back to it. Because one of the things Cornette said, he goes, I'm not expecting you to get piercings and a bunch of tattoos and, wear makeup and all that stuff. He said, but, just think about it. So for me, it was a no-brainer. And then, I convinced Glenn that, this could be a no-brainer also, especially since we're getting paid a little bit of extra money. And so that's how it was presented to us. And we jumped into it from there.
Man, that's awesome. I love that. Who came up with the names for you guys? Who came up with Mosh and Thrasher?
Cornette. So
Okay.
our first TV we went to, when we showed up at TV, like, we didn't know what to expect. We both had, like, I don't know, shorts on, black shorts or something. I think I had work boots and Glenn wore sneakers. And we walked in. Cornette threw Glenn a Metallica shirt and he threw me a Slayer t-shirt. And he goes, this is what you guys are going to wear. He goes, and you're going to be the Headbangers. We're like, okay. He goes, you're going to go out, you're going to do a match, and then you're going to go over with Les Thatcher. You're going to do an interview. We're like, okay. And we're like, what's our names? He goes, I don't know, Mosh and Thrash, whatever you want it to be. We'll figure it out. It's not the end of the world. So we're like, okay. So we go out to the ring and we do the match, and then we go over to Les Thatcher, and Les Thatcher's like, hey, I'm here with the Headbangers. And I'm like, I don't know. I go, I think my name's Mosh. And Glenn's like, yeah, I think I'm Thrasher. And we're like, yeah, so we're Mosh and Thrasher. We're the Headbangers. And I started like messing with Les Thatcher, taking his glasses off, and I'm poking him in the ears, and like I'm like putting them on. I'm like, hey, these things are Coke bottles. Like, how do you see? And like we really had no idea who we were, what we were doing. So we just ran with it. And so that's literally how the names came up. It was kind of like, yeah, you'll be Mosh and you can be Thrasher, whatever. Just we'll figure it out. Just go do it. And so right there with Les, we were like, I kind of took the claim of Mosh, and Glenn was like, all right, I guess I'm Thrasher then. And that's how it went.
There's not too many wrestlers who get that creative freedom, right? Just come up with your own name. Yeah, whatever you got.
Just figure it out. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. If you don't figure it out now, we'll figure it out later. Like, that's the whole gimmick. We're like, okay.
You're listening to the Card Subject to Change podcast, the podcast by the fan for the fan. Of course, we are coming to you live from Atomic Sports Cards and Collectibles Studios, powered by Lopez Pizza, pizza by the slice or pie, New York style, in downtown Davenport. Of course, we're on with Chaz Warrington. You probably know him better as Mosh, Beaver Cleavage. Some people want to know you as. I mean, the list goes on and on. We've been talking to you, Chaz Warrington, here about his time in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. When your time was up with Smoky Mountain, was there kind of like okay, now what are we going to do? Is this going to work at the next level? Which it did. Was there a time of there that you had doubts?
There was. I don't know if doubt was ever there. We knew.
Not doubt your ability, but doubt.
Yeah. No, we just knew we weren't sure what was next, because we were there. Smoky Mountain shut down. So it wasn't like we finished up and it was like, all right, what do we do next? Like, we had no notice. Like, okay, we're shut down, and we're like, okay, what do we do? So, we packed up, we went back home. Then we were close with Axel Rotten, and Axel knew someone in Baltimore running MEWF. So Axel brought us in, and we created this little family of freaks thing there. And it was great because they were running like 2 or 3, sometimes 4 times a month. And they would run, a Friday and a Saturday, which is Saturday. It was a 2.5 hour drive down to Baltimore. And then we got hooked up with Malcolm out in Detroit. So we'd go out there and then come back. And then in between, I was working at a car wash, just vacuuming stuff, the inside of the cars and the wheels and stuff like that. Just, try to get by. So it was just wherever we get a booking, we were going to, we'd get a booking and we would run with it. But meanwhile, we just kept trying to evolve the gimmick into, what was next. And, the skirts helped a lot with that because it set us apart. It was different because no one else was doing it. So there was people that were like, oh, we don't know their names, but they're the 2 guys wearing skirts. Yeah. So, and that's really all that mattered. And, Yeah, so when we got done, it was a matter of, all right, well, we got to go home. We'll figure it out. The good part was we still had the Monster Factory, so we were able to go down there on the weekends when we weren't working. We didn't have a show and still work on the craft and stay in the ring and, work out that way. And then meanwhile, we were still doing, when WWE was in town, we'd go up and still do jobs. And then the best part about it was Cornette was then working full-time with WWE, which led to us. He's the one that, put the word in with Vince that ended up getting us that first contract. It was a part-time contract, but we were the only part-time guys that stuck and got a full-time contract. So that was our foot in the door as far as being full-time. And then all the years of just going up there and doing jobs and getting the shit beat out of us worked out well, because Cornette went into Vince and said, hey, I have these guys. They live up here in this area. I'd love to have you look at them. It's a tag team. They weren't Smoky Mountain with me. They had this really great creative gimmick, and it's different. He goes, maybe they can do a dark match. And Vince looked at him and said, well, tell me about them. And he goes, well, they've been up here before. They've been up here as the Spiders, Chaz and Glenn. But they were with me in Smoky Mountain, so they had this headbanger gimmick. And he goes, oh. He goes, yeah, the guys with the spiders with the mask. And he's like, yeah, he goes, I know exactly who they are. They don't have to do a tryout. He goes, put them under a part-time contract. He goes, and then we can figure it out from there. So that's how we got our start in WWE. Yeah, it all kind of we just kept our nose to the grind and said, all right, what's next? Yeah, what's next? And we'll go wherever we have to go. I mean, I remember Glenn went over to Japan. The idea with Japan was him to go over to build a storyline to bring me back. But while he was in Japan, I had a booking in Atlanta. So I drove from New Jersey down to Atlanta by myself, did the show, and then turned around and drove all the way back to Jersey. Like, that's just what we did. We did what we had to do. We figured it out.
Man. Chaz, I want to talk to you about, you have one of the more iconic finishers, you and Glenn, in the business. Talk about the invention of the stage dive.
Let me just start by saying is the greatest tag team finisher of all time. People will argue with me. People will say LODs is better. People will say the Dudleys are better. The Hardys are better. And I'm like, I had an argument over the weekend about the Hardys. I'm like, the Hardys finisher is 2 singles moves done. It's not a tag team finish. LOD and the Dudleys, I'll just say people are going to say theirs are better because they're more over than we were, which is fine. They're both great finishers. And a lot of other teams have duplicated them. Stage dive has never been duplicated because it can't, because it takes practice, lots of practice, and timing. And how it came up was Glenn woke up in the middle of the night, and he always kept a pad and pen next to his bed. And he woke up one night and he had this thought of a power bomb and leg drop, and he wrote it down, went back to sleep. Got up the next day and it's sitting there, and he was like, I don't even know what this means. And we were going out of the school. He brought it down when we first started tagging, and he goes, I don't know what this means. So we started spitballing it. Like, I don't know, maybe one of us does. So we started it with him in the ring trying to do a power bomb and me running in the ring and trying to drop a leg. In theory, it sounds good, but logistically it didn't work all that well, because if the timing was off a little bit, someone was landing on my leg. If I didn't jump high enough, my foot would kick someone in the side of the head. So then it turned into, so at this point, D'Lo was training down at the school also. And D'Lo was like, well, what if you did it like off the ropes? So we're like, oh, let's try that. So I climb up to the second rope, jump off. Glenn's doing a power bomb. We're like, it didn't feel right. It didn't feel big enough. And then I tried getting up to the top rope, and I can laugh about this because as athletic as I am, I have no balance. Growing up, we used to walk across the logs, across the creeks. I used to get to the point where I would just walk through the water because I knew I was going to fall. So I had no balance. So we figured it out. Like, Glenn ended up saying, all right, so it got to me doing the power bomb, which I had to figure out how to get him up and get him down quick enough, because Glenn points at me and we just go. And, so thankful and so grateful for D'Lo, because he literally helped us perfect that. He took boots to the head, ass to the face. My head like hitting me in the nuts, like as I'm trying to come down, trying to figure it out. We literally beat the hell out of him. But if it wasn't for him, we would have never got it down. It took us about go down to the school 4 days a week. We used to go, so it's probably good solid 4 or 5 days of just over and over and over. And we didn't have crash pads back then, so D'Lo's taking a bump in the ring every single time. So that's how it happened, and we just kept practicing it over and over and over again. And because it's not just a matter of a power bomb and someone doing a leg drop, because the guy taking the power bomb has to look away. He has to keep his right arm down, because if his arm's out here, Glenn's going to sit on it. We figured out if someone looks up, like if they look this way as they're taking the power bomb, because Glenn's coming from this way, it brings their face up this way. So then they get hit with the boot. So they literally have to look the other way. So they don't take a boot to the head. So there was a lot to it. Listen, 3D is a great finisher. You can hit it out of nowhere. That's probably the only negative with ours, I would say, is it's got to be set up. It's not something you can just hit out of nowhere. But I'll still stand by it, and especially if you ask Glenn, it's the greatest finisher of all time. It's that simple.
We have a couple people in the comments, and this is a great question. I want to bring it up here. So Nick talked about beaver cleavage earlier. Right. Here in the Quad Cities, beaver cleavage made his debut here in Moline, Illinois.
We're back
here. What
here.
are your memories of that debut?
The memories of that debut is I wrestled Christian. I beat Christian, and beaver cleavage goes down with an undefeated record because I had one match, and it was that one match against Christian. I didn't realize it was in Moline, Illinois, but it was one match. There was beaver cleavage lasted like 5 weeks because there was 4 weeks of vignettes. Then I had that one match, and then there was no beaver cleavage on TV for a week or two, and then it was killed off. But I will say this: people say it's like the worst gimmick ever, but those vignettes are the funniest vignettes ever. So it counteracts it because those vignettes were awesome.
I would agree. The vignettes, everybody's going to go, I don't think it was a bad gimmick. I thought it was funny. I mean, I can see where people may think that, but I thought it was funny. But the fact you went undefeated and defeated a future world heavyweight champion. So,
right.
Not many people with bad gimmicks or silly gimmicks go undefeated. So
no, and I think it would have eventually. I think it would have gotten over. It was comical. It would have gotten over, but it could have evolved into something else. The way they cut it off and then just said to me, "All right, go be Chaz, this kid from New Jersey that's happy to be here," and I was like, "Oh, who's Chaz?" Like, I'm happy, and the kid from New Jersey that supposedly now has a girlfriend. And her and I didn't gel that well, so that was part of the problem for me also. And I never looked at, and I talk about this in the book, I never looked at wrestling as a business. I looked at it as I have a job. As long as I do what I'm asked to do and I do the right thing and I'll get in trouble, I have a job for life. Like I compare it to someone that works at like a Walmart, or they're a lawyer, they work in a law firm. As long as they do what they're supposed to do, in theory, you have a job for life. That's what I thought would happen with me. But it didn't, because the business side of it was there that I never realized. But looking back now and actually realizing this, writing the book is one of the things I realized. This could be one of the things that I realized with writing the book was that if I would have brought her in and put my arm around her when I was in the locker room and in the arena and said, "Listen, this is a business. This is my business partner. I don't have to like her outside of work. There's lots of people we have to work with that we don't like or want to hang out with outside of work." If I would have realized that, it would have been different, because what I didn't realize at the time, everyone who had a female with them was getting a push. It was getting used. And if I would have just did that, it could have been a totally different thing. And this is nothing against Glenn, and I've said this to him to his face, so I'm not afraid to say it now. I could have been, every tag team for the most part has that breakout person. You have Bret Hart, you have Shawn, you have Edge. I could have been that at the Headbangers if I would have maybe put my arm around her and said, "All right, let's go and let's run with this." But I didn't realize it, and I had no one telling me that. I had no guidance, I had no mentor. Like I said at the beginning, Bret helped us a lot when we first got to WWF. But when Bret left, we were looked at as Bret's boys, and it was like, now what? We had no one to go to. And so there was no guidance for me to say, "Hey, you're being given an opportunity, stop and just freaking run with it." But again, it is what it is. But I do a lot of coaching now. And everything I tell them is anytime they tell you something, they ask you to do something, you got to look at it as an opportunity, embrace it, and run with it. So again, I wasn't able to do it, but if I can pass that down, so be it. It is what it is.
The name of the book is Beneath the Skirt. We're chatting with the author, Chaz Warrington, also known as Mosh. Chaz, what was the biggest challenge you faced writing this book? The biggest obstacle you had?
The biggest obstacle I had, there was a part or two in there that I had to, the book is, I'm pretty transparent in the book about everything. There's a couple of things where I guess I had trouble writing because I didn't, some of the truth that the story had to be in the book. But the truth I had to skew a little bit, not to hurt people, if that makes sense. Yep. That part was difficult to write because, you know, there are people like, I don't want someone to read it and be like, it would have, I'm trying to sugarcoat this as much as possible. This is the only time I'm going to sugarcoat. It would have hurt people and I didn't want to do that. And I'll just leave it at that. But that was the hardest part because I had to, what was going on was important to the story, but it wasn't important enough to hurt people after the fact, if that makes sense. So that was the hardest part.
Okay. That's fair. I would think something like that would be like, I don't want to say too much. I don't want to burn a bridge. I don't want to throw somebody under the bus type of deal. I get that. I totally
it wasn't even burning a bridge or throwing someone under the bus. It just was too personal. Sure. And the other side of it is everything in here, like people are like, well, what did you leave out? And I said, well, the only stuff I've really left out was anything I didn't want my son to know about. And you know, my son's 22 now, but my son will hear some of these stories that aren't in the book, but that'll be over a campfire with a glass of whiskey and a cigar out in the middle of the woods.
Right.
Yes.
So now that the book is released and has been out for a little bit, talk about people's reaction to the book. How has the engagement been?
It's been shockingly unbelievable. You know, the book is selling a lot better than I expected. The reaction to it is a lot better than I expected. The biggest thing I hear about it is, again, people enjoying knowing what was going on in my brain while they saw what happened on TV. But the other side of it is people tell me as they're reading it, they hear my voice as if like I'm actually sitting there telling them the story. They get pulled into it. There were some things in there I thought maybe I was dumbing down too much, but some people that are reading it who weren't wrestling fans, who didn't know terminology, liked that I brought something up and then I would explain it exactly what it was. Because then I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then with that, with people telling me, you know, hey, you know, I hear you. I'm now working on the audiobook and I'm doing it myself because I figured like I could drop it into AI and have AI do the audiobook, but AI is not going to get the emotion and feel it like it's actually my voice, and I can be a little more expressive where I need to be. And I said the only person who could have done it besides me would be Samuel L. Jackson, but I don't think I can afford him. So,
and of course, you can find the book on your website, chazmosh.com, which I have linked in the description of the episode. So go there. I personally have it on my Kindle.
Awesome.
I'm kind of starting getting back into physical media more now than I have been, but I'm a digital guy for the most part. Everything I read is going to be on my phone because it's with me everywhere.
Right.
And if I'm waiting somewhere and bored, I have a book that I can pull up. So
it's funny when I put it on Kindle, I made sure like when it came out, so it's on my website and then it is on Amazon. But like when it first went on Amazon, I had to buy it to be the first one to buy it. And then when the hardback came out, I had to be the first one to buy it. And then it was on Kindle. I had to be the first one to buy the Kindle. Like I bought it all. But when I'm doing the audiobook, I actually bring up the Kindle because it's easier to read on the computer screen. But I actually carry it with me. Like I'm reading books now. I'm going to get ready to start Dan Spivey's book. We did a book swap, him and I have to read Barry Darso's book. He gave me a copy of his book. We did a book swap also. So I got to read those. But yeah, I want the physical book though when I'm reading it. I like turning the page. This is too small for me to try and scroll like that on there. But yeah,
I can understand that.
I get it. Listen, we all got our ways.
And of course, your website is where we can find every link that you have to. You talk about where people can find you other than the website, like on social media. I know you've got a podcast that you've started.
Yep.
Talk about all that a little bit.
Yeah, so all social media is at Chaz Mosh. It's just simple. My Twitter or X, whatever it's called, is Chaz Mosh. Instagram's Chaz Mosh. TikTok is Chaz Mosh. The YouTube, so the podcast. So I do a couple of different. Glenn and I do a podcast together called The Stage Dive. That resides on my YouTube channel, which is Chaz Mosh. You go to Chaz Mosh, you're going to find it. So you go to YouTube for our Stage Dive, and then I also do the Chaz Mosh Show, which is right there behind me. The Chaz Mosh Show, I do that myself. I actually did interview yesterday with Sexy BJ Ray, former NXT star. He was on LFG. That's going to drop on Friday. But if, so again, you go to YouTube if you want to watch it, but anywhere, you can find a podcast or you listen to your podcast, Spotify, Apple, whatever it is. I don't know, there's like 30,000 of them or whatever. I have that listed on there, but you just go on there and you search the Chaz Mosh Show and it pops up, and that's my show. And then Stage Dive's on there as well. And got a few other things in the works also. But, if you go to my website, chazmosh.com, I actually have some exclusive pictures on there that have never been released, as far as I know, have never been released. And they're all early Headbanger pictures. There's one of them where I'm not even wearing a skirt yet. So it's very early. You can get, that's where you get the book signed. I have bookmarkers there, and you get discounts on if you buy the book on the pictures and stuff like that. Yeah, so basically everything I do is Chaz Mosh. It's very simple. I try to keep it easy, simple. I love the KISS method.
It sounds like a new gimmick too. I'm Chaz Mosh.
Yeah, that's what it is. I mean, I got it on shirts. I mean, it's got to be
Absolutely.
real, right?
Absolutely.
It's on shirts. It's on T-shirts. It's got to be real. You can get those on ProWrestlingTees.com. So yes, it's there.
There we go. There we go. Will there be another book?
I actually just finished. Yes, the short answer is yes. It's going to be multiple, though. It's going to be kind of serious. So one of the things is not a lot of people know, because I've kind of kept it quiet, and I really only talk about it once a year, is I had thyroid cancer back in 2018. I had thyroid cancer that led, and then they took out my thyroid and 121 lymph nodes. I wrote that story because on how I found it. I found a lump up here on my neck, and that led to them finding that I had thyroid cancer. Thyroid's down here. But if it wasn't for that lump, me getting it looked at, I would have never known I had thyroid cancer. And honestly, I don't know. That lump may have literally saved my life, because the cancer I had was a fast spreading seed, and the lymph nodes did what they were supposed to do. But if I would have ignored the lump, it could have spread everywhere. So, I found a lump, I got it looked at, and then I had some post-surgery complications that had nothing to do with the cancer. And it's the story of it is, I think it's inspiring, but at the same time, it's kind of funny, because I put like my twist. The whole time I was going through it, I'm sitting in a hospital. The doctor's telling me my insides are shutting down because I'm so dehydrated, because I had this, what we call a Kyle leak, this drip I had. My neck kept blowing up like this. And the doctor sent me to the hospital because I was dehydrated, but I'm like, I feel fine. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I'm perfectly fine. He's like, no, you'd be in the hospital. I'm in the hospital, like on my computer, because I have a job. I had a job to do. I'm in there doing work, and I'm messing around with like the nurses, the doctors, and just being me, because I never knew. I never felt off. I never felt tired. I never felt like anything was wrong. So it's just kind of my story. So that's getting ready to come out. I just finished it with my editor, getting ready I'm working on the cover, and I'm going to get that out. And I fingers crossed. I had couple of conversations with the American Cancer Society for them to kind of pick up and tell the story also, and maybe do some stuff with them as far as being an advocate for early detection, listening to your body. Because again, if it wasn't 2 years later, the lump I had ended up having 2 surgeries with the cancer, and one because of the cancer and the second one for the complications I had after the fact. Neither surgery, they took the lump out because I didn't have to go that far up into my neck. 2 years later, the lump starts growing, so they took it out. It was a fatty tissue. It was a lipoma. It was nothing, but that nothing, again, potentially could have saved my life. So that story is coming out. And then, so I started writing book number 2. And as I was talking to my son about it, he was like, Dad, this is like a business sales book. Like, this can be a totally different thing. So I'm going to break that up. I have some ideas on that. I don't want to come right out and say what they are yet, because if it doesn't happen, then you look like an idiot. Then the way social media is now, everyone wants to come after you. Well, you said this on that podcast and it didn't happen, so you're full of shit. You're a liar. No, I got some things going on, and it's great. I love it. I love doing the podcast. I love talking to people. I just love all of it. It's just, it's not even doing the wrestling stuff. Like it's so much fun. Like if you're not having fun, you shouldn't be doing it. Like this is just fun. Like doing the podcast, like we all have like a real job during the day, but doing this stuff, I absolutely love it. Like this is amazing for me. Like I'm so blessed and fortunate, and just wish this brace would stay up.
Chaz, this has been an absolute pleasure speaking with you here tonight. We appreciate you coming on. One last question that I'll ask. I know you do appearances, conventions, you and Glenn. Where can the fans find you in the next few weeks?
Oh, geez. Well, this coming weekend, you can find me out at my camp in the middle of the woods where I'm just going to be all by myself. The following weekend, or let me just do it. It'll be easier this way. Because it's the schedule, ever since we announced like we're having our last match, it's been nuts. May 15th and 16th, we're going to Vancouver. We'll be in Vancouver.
Wow. Doing
some stuff there. And then the 30th, we're doing a convention battle royal for GPW Wrestling. I think it's right outside Ottawa, Canada. And then June 6th, I think it's Lucky Pro Wrestling. It's in Boston. We'll be there. And then the 20th of June, we're back in Ontario. June 4th, we're in Daytona Beach, Florida. And then, July 4th. And then July 17th through the 19th, we're doing stuff in Baltimore with Maryland Championship Wrestling. Being that when Maryland Championship Wrestling first opened, Glenn and I were their first tag team champions. I was a former heavyweight champion for Maryland Championship Wrestling. So a lot of the companies that we've done stuff for over the last 30 years, we want to have one more match with them. So that's what that's about. So, but the schedule's crazy. What I'm trying to do on my website is I have a calendar, and I'm trying to keep it updated there, just so people kind of know where we are. I say I'm trying to keep it updated because right now it's not updated.
You're busy. And
I know that.
You're writing books.
Yeah, it's just there's a lot going on, but it's all great stuff. I mean, I'm very fortunate, very, very, very fortunate, and we have new action figures coming out, which is amazing. That's a whole nother thing.
When are they out?
So they will be, well, as of right now, from what I understand, they're all over the United Kingdom and they're all over like Australia. But they're going to be exclusive for Walmart. It's the Elite Series 11. It's the Build-A-Figure set. So it's Glenn, it's a 4-set series. Like I said, Series 11. So it's myself, Glenn, Brian Adams, and then Hulk Hogan's the 4th one. Okay. And it's Build-A-Figure. So, and I didn't know what that meant until actually Brian Myers explained this to me last Sunday when I saw him. He goes, "Is it Build-A-Figure?" And I go, "I don't know. What's that?" So he explained it to me. And I was wondering why my package had these 2 little heads in it that weren't me. And it turns out the Build-A-Figure is you have to buy all 4. And like mine has the heads. I think Glenn's has the arms. Brian Adams has the legs. And then Hulk Hogan's has the body. You build Rick Rude. So I'm like, that's amazing. So I was told it's supposed to come out in the summer, but I've got messages that it's already hitting. Like I was on eBay. I go on eBay to look just to see what selling of me and see if there's anything I can buy of myself. But it was on there. So I bought 2 of them from some guy in Australia, and I'm waiting for him to get here off eBay.
We'll keep our eyes peeled for him.
somebody sent me a thing yesterday saying it hit their Walmart. So this morning I got up, first thing I did is I went to my Walmart, but they weren't there. So they're going to be, they're coming, they're here. So I can't, that's exciting too, because they're the ones through Mattel. So it's part of the Legends deal we have with WWE.
That's so cool. That is so cool.
Awesome.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. I'm praying. Again, we talked about beaver cleavage. I want a beaver cleavage action figure. I think that would be the greatest ever. That would be tremendous.
WWE, if you're listening, make it happen. Mattel, we're talking to you too.
Yes.
Would it be even cooler if it was the Build-A-Figure?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
It needs that little hat with the propeller on it. Yes. I mean, that would be the greatest.
I would just love to see the cardboard art.
Yes.
You know, because that stuff always looks so great on those figs. But
yes.
No, seriously, Chaz, I want to thank you so much for stopping by our little corner of the world and making us feel somewhat special for an hour as we interviewed you here talking about your book, Beneath the Skirt. I want to tell a story real quick. I talked to my buddy Don today, who's a friend of the show, and CZ knows him. And he's like, you know what? Mosh is on my Mount Rushmore. And I got to thinking, you know what? He's on mine too. Of wrestlers that you've come across and encountered that are just out of this world, beyond nice, normal human beings. And you're definitely on the Mount Rushmore. And I mean that with all sincerity. I'm not stroking you because you're definitely like one of the coolest, wrestlers that we've met or that I've met and love to interact with.
Thank you. That means a lot. That actually means more to me than and I literally have goosebumps. The reason that is one of the things, Glenn and I on this retirement tour, when we get done every show now, we grab the microphone and, somebody just wrote, found the Headbangers figures on the Walmart app. See, now I'm going to have to look.
Now we all got to look.
Now we all got to look.
Thank you, Stryker.
Nick's birthday was just a couple weeks ago. Mine's in September. Hint, hint, hint.
Yeah, a couple days later my birthday. There you go.
So, one of the things we do on the shows now when we get done is we grab the microphone and we thank everybody, because literally, and I do on Wednesdays. I forgot about this too. On Wednesdays, every Wednesday at 5:30, I go live on Instagram. On my Instagram, I go live for a half hour, talk whatever. NXT. I'm trying to get it to talk about NXT because I know a lot of people don't talk about NXT, and I love NXT. But I even said it today is if it wasn't for the fans, there would be no us. There would be no Headbangers. There'd be no wrestlers. There'd be nobody without the fans. So, Nick saying that to me, that's why that means a lot, because I had a very bad experience when I met Pete Rose. And I had a great experience when I met Mike Tyson. I went, everyone who meets me from that day forward, I went, and I was WrestleMania 14 in Boston. From that day forward, I wanted to make sure whoever I encountered left with that Mike Tyson experience with me, not the Pete Rose experience. So, again, without you guys, without the fans, there is no this. So thank you. That means a lot. And that was kind of a long tangent to say that to you, but it means a lot. Thank you.
And we thank you for coming here, man. Much appreciated. And looking forward to the next book. I have your book, but I got Gorilla Monsoon's book ahead of you and Medusa's book. I'm sorry, but I get them. I got to read them in the order I get them. That's
you just brought up Medusa. She's got heat with me.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So this past March, we do every year, we go to Indianapolis to Squared Circle Expo.
Sure.
They did a panel this year. Of authors. So it was me, it was Jimmy Yang, and it was Medusa and David Penzer. And Medusa gets done, and we get done. And like her and I, that was the first time we ever met. And we just hit it off, talking, joking back and forth up on the stage. And people were asking dumb questions. We're just having a good time. So when we got done, first thing I did was went back to my table, grabbed the pen. I signed a stupid book. I walk it down to her, and I hand her a copy of my book. I go, I want you to have a signed copy of my book. First time I ever met you, this is great. Whatever. She goes, you know what? She goes, I want to sign yours. I want it to be personal. She goes, I'll come find you. And I'll give it to you. Still waiting for my book, Medusa. Just saying.
No.
Yeah. So I wanted to read her. So I'm like, I want to read your book, but
oh no.
But you know what? I don't know if I can say this, but F you now, Medusa. I'm not going to buy it. So I'm only reading it if you give it to me.
She's still looking for you.
she's still in that hotel in Indianapolis. She's lost. She's walking around now she's hearing this red rum, and she's walking down the hallways looking for me.
Chaz, like you said, we can't thank you enough. Go ahead. I cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I was just going to say, it was, I don't even know what I was going to say. That was it. But yeah.
And I will say this before we close out. Nick and I are huge NXT fans. So if you ever feel like just shooting the crap about NXT, you're always welcome to come on.
I love it. I think the action's better. I love it right now. And you know what? I may be partial because I do go up to the PC and I do coaching. I've been doing that for like a year and a half off and on. I may be partial because I know them. Like when the guys get called up to the main roster, I use this example all the time, is Javon Evans, a few weeks ago, was talking to Adam Pearce about the Intercontinental Championship. Ethan Page came in. I went, yes. I was like, yeah. Like, I didn't know Ethan was going up. I'm like, yes, this is awesome. Like, I get excited about it. And some of the cuts that just happened, I feel certain ways about it, but I've reached out to all of them. And, I'm passionate about them. And I love it right now because you don't know what's going to happen. I love the chaos on the show right now. I love the fact last night when Zarya went out. Now, first of all, I love Zarya. I just hope she lets the Sol Ruka story go. Like, all right, stop talking about Sol Ruka. She's gone. You threw her off the thing. You almost broke her neck with her head on the table.
You nearly killed her. You won, okay?
Right. You won. Let it go. But then when, Tatum came out and then Lizzie came out, and I keep throwing out there, Lizzie's in the headbanging music. Just saying. She could use some guidance or a little help, from another headbanger. Sure. And then Nikita came out. Nikita, I love. She's just unbelievable. The way she's gotten herself back into shape, and she's so talented. And I love her interviews and her promos because she's talking, and then all of a sudden she's singing, and then she's over here and she's over there, but she brings it all back around. And just the talent is great. And what I really, really love about it is when people leave, like when Oba left, Trick left, and Javon left, you went, oh, like what's going to happen? Everybody stepped up. And now with everyone that just moved up, it's the same way. It's like, who's going to step up? And they're just throwing everybody in there from you. I love it. I think the action's better. It's almost like, to me, I compare it to college football or college sports and professional sports, because the college kids still have something to play for. The NFL players, they're there already. They have their contracts. They have whatever it is. These kids in NXT, and that just says a lot about Matt Bloom and Shawn Michaels on what they've done and the culture they built. I tell Matt all the time, the culture you built here is unbelievable. And I get goosebumps talking about it. When I get there, I get so excited to be there. I just love being a part of it because I know where they're going. And for me, because I start my coaching program now, the Veteran Authority. I've started that, and I have a couple kids now that I'm working with, and they send me their matches, and then they send me it the next week. I critique it, we talk about it, and then the next week they'll send me another one, and I see them pull it off. That's one of the things I love about the Performance Center is you work with them, all week, and then you see them go out on TV and they pull it off, and then they come back and they're just as excited that they're like, oh my God, you see that? I'll give you an example. OTM, the tag team. I was up there and I was like, listen, guys, you guys are huge. You should be tossing people around. So we walked through this spot, and we're going through this spot, and, they did it. This was a couple weeks. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they're on NXT, and I'm watching it, and I see it, and I'm like, oh, they're doing the spot. Like, they're doing a spot. And the spot finishes with them doing the double flapjack. And they were doing it. That was what Glenn and I did, the double flapjack. But a lot of people did it where just put a hand here and you just drop them. I was like, no, you guys are huge. And I showed him video of Glenn and I doing a double flapjack of throwing the person in the air. And they're so big. I mean, they're both 6'7", 6'8", and with their reach, they're going to be 10, 12 feet in the air. I mean, that's just the reality of it. And I'm going over this with them, and we're in the tag team room, going over videos, and I'm talking, and the other tag team was like, Chaz, stop. No, we don't want to be throwing feet in the air. But they did the spot and they pulled it off with the double flapjack. I was on my couch, and again, I jumped up and popped, and I couldn't grab my phone fast. They were still in the ring, and I was sending them messages going, that was freaking awesome. I loved it. Like, so I get just as excited watching it because I don't know. I feel like I hate saying like I'm part of them, but I am in a way, but I don't know. The ego side of me won't say like I take any credit for it.
It's like a teacher seeing a student do well. They've done their job. They're fulfilled. They're excited.
The best way to describe it, and I actually had this conversation with D'Lo, and D'Lo gave me this analogy. It's taking the training wheels off your kid's bike and watching them ride off. That's the feeling I get when I see them pull something off, and I see the excitement in them when they do it as well. So, yeah,
awesome. Well,
so to answer, to answer Strike Ninja. So my favorite was actually Fatal Influence. I love all three now, but they're not there now.
Yeah.
So if I had to pick one right now, it'd have to be Nikita Lyons. She's one of my favorites. Yes.
Okay.
Boom.
Sure.
Yes. Yeah, but Fatal Influence was awesome. I love them. You know, they're just amazing. And the heat they got when they came out on SmackDown. What's that?
I love their entrance music.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's them.
It is.
Yep.
100%. Yes.
And then JC Jane goes up on the main roster and beats Charlotte in her debut on SmackDown.
Right, and then the three of them are just jumping everybody. Yeah.
I like it.
I love it. It's great. I think what they've done, and I think that's the difference between now and like years past. Like they brought people up, but they didn't really utilize them well. Javon came up, got the push. Ethan came up, got a push. Trix, the U.S. champ. Oba retires Brock. I mean, come on.
Oba's gonna be a champ soon. You know,
Oba. So here's my prediction: how many times are we going to see in the NFL when someone scores a touchdown?
Yeah,
we're going to see the Oba. It's going to be the Oba. It's going to be called the Oba. Yes, I'm saying it now. I've said it. Been saying it for weeks now. It's going to be the Oba. Someone's going to score a touchdown. They're going to do the Oba trot. 100%. Can't wait to see it.
Well, Chaz, we are so appreciative of your time. I know everybody has lives, everybody has busy schedules. We don't want to keep you any longer than we have to, and I know we'd love to have you back anytime.
No, this was fun. This was a good time. I appreciate it. Yeah, like I said, I appreciate it. This was great. Thanks. And make sure everyone goes chazmosh.com, get your book.
Beneath the Skirt is the book. Chaz Warrington, the author. Chaz Mosh. On all social media platforms.
And I mentioned the cancer book I wrote.
Yes.
Great title for that one too. Beneath the Scar.
I was gonna suggest a title, but I didn't want to make light of a serious matter. I was gonna say Beneath the Gown.
The gown. That's interesting, but
I like Beneath the Scar better.
I'm going deep in the scar here. Yeah. So
it's if it's anything like the excerpts I've written or read from your book Beneath the Skirt. Fans are going to love it. They're going to love to hear your story.
I just want to, the whole point of that is to get it out there. And just, again, I know guys are how they are. You know, they're like, oh, I got this. I don't feel like me. I didn't feel sick. I didn't feel tired. I felt perfectly fine. I was still playing kickball. I was still running around. I was still working. I was doing everything. But, you know, if I didn't get it looked at. So that's kind of the message I want to get out. Like if something's off, if you feel off, you find a lump, you do something, you need to get it looked at because you never know what it is. And if it turns out to be nothing, great. But you still got it looked at. That's kind of the point of that. And again, I'm hoping to get with American Cancer once it's done and be able to get out there and do some PSAs, I guess.
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And we'll be watching for that. That is going to wrap up this episode of Card Subject to Change. Can't thank Chaz Mosh enough for coming on. We will see you this weekend. Stay tuned to socials for our schedule this weekend because Nick and I are going to FanFest in the St. Louis area. Not sure exactly when we're going to be broadcasting, but we will see you this weekend for another episode of Card Subject to Change. For my tag team partner, Never Wrong, Nick Bull, I am the Wizard CZ, powered by Lopez Pizza in the Atomic Sports Cards Collectible Studio.
One last word.
Go for it.
Do whatever makes your heart happy. Just don't suck at it.
That is a great note to end on. Everybody have a great rest of your night.
Peace out.